Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Sunday, July 13th, 2025 in the space and time continuum. And this week, I'm going on a little late. It doesn't really matter to you because I don't release it till Monday anyway, but I'm going on later on Sunday because I was having so much fun gathering information this week. I usually start by saying there was so much that happened, I don't know where to start. That's still true. But this week, it seems like everything is bringing the whole shebang down. What, a couple of weeks ago, it was Casey Kasem's countdown of the 5 things Trump wants to distract the most from this week. And now it's the distractions are at least as bad as what he's trying to distract from. So, is there one thing that he's trying to distract from? I think yes. The number one thing on our chart is the Jeffrey Epstein files. But what are you going to use to distract? Oh, we killed 27 children in a summer camp. Trump even said he doesn't really have press conferences. He just, I don't know, he brings the press in when he's having a meeting in the Oval Office or when he's starting a cabinet meeting. So he had a cabinet meeting, brought the press in. Somebody, of course, asked about the Epstein files. You know, Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, you said that you had the Epstein list on your desk a couple months ago and that you were going to release it. And now you're saying it doesn't exist. And then Trump interrupts. And it looked staged, by the way. He's like, can I just interrupt for a minute? And she's like, yeah, before he even finishes. Sure, go ahead, sir. Then he goes something like, are you really asking about Epstein? I mean, this guy's been talking. You're really going to want to talk about Epstein when we got all these other things? We got Texas. We got all these, beautiful things going on. And so, yeah, he would rather, I want to talk about how we dismantled the infrastructure in Texas so that as many people as possible could die in a flash flood. Hopefully that will distract everyone from the Epstein files. Or maybe, what else could it be? Alligator, I'm going to call it the alligator concentration camp. Alligator, Alcatraz. What a bunch of idiots. What the hell are you doing, man? What the hell are you doing? I could see me and my buddies in 7th or 8th grade having an assignment to, okay, we want you to pretend that you're the Nazi regime. All right? And then I could see me and my buddies thinking we were clever by, yeah, let's have a concentration camp. Oh, let's put it in the Everglades and call it Alligator Alcatraz. We should also name something after, like, I don't know, butts or something. That would be funny. Oh, I know, butt camp. That's the level that the current United States presidential administration is at. Me and my buddies being in 7th grade, having the assignment to learn about the Nazi regime to, okay, here's your assignment for this week. You are the Nazi regime. Organize things that the Nazis would have done. And give them funny names like only 7th grade boys can do. That is Donald Trump. I mean,
Newscomb, Governor Newscomb is what I call him. And so clever. Because scum means, I don't know if you know what scum means. Scum means scum. That's another thing he said this week. He said, I don't know, and they dropped those bombs, and then there was ski-daddle. They said ski-daddle. You know, do you know the word ski-daddle? It means ski-daddle.
You can find tape of him saying that. I swear I might have one word out of place. Otherwise, he said that. He said that. Right now, he is supposedly the President of the United States. Okay. So, we want people to be distracted from the Jeffrey Epstein files. Let's see if we can have maximum death in Texas. I'm going to read to you, okay, from CNN reporting. As Central Texas towns were submerged in rising waters, FEMA officials realized they couldn't pre-position urban search and rescue crews from a network of teams stationed regionally across the country. In the past, FEMA would have swiftly staged these teams, which are specifically trained for situations including catastrophic floods, closer to a disaster zone, in anticipation of urgent requests, multiple agency sources told CNN. These are people within FEMA. But even as Texas rescue crews raced to save lives, FEMA officials realized they needed Noem's approval. This is Kristi Noem, head of Homeland Security. She didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until Monday, more than 72 hours after the flooding began. And again, multiple sources told this to CNN. Now I'm reading from Daily Kos. Kos, I don't know what it's KOS. I always heard it called Daily Kos. Anyway, DHS tried to deny that Noem's incompetence hindered the search and rescue efforts, but their denial actually proved the CNN story. DHS said in a post on X. Again, this is how they communicate. They don't have press releases or press conferences. They just post on what I call Twitter, which has become a mess. Because who's in charge of that? Anyway, all right, I keep getting off track. And then I say anyway, which is really annoying. I apologize. Anyway, Jesus, okay. I did it again. DHS said on a post on X, President Trump approved a major disaster declaration hours after Governor Greg Abbott's request. By Tuesday, FEMA had deployed 311 staffers, providing support and shelter for hundreds of people. Tuesday, the flood happened at 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. End of Tuesday? What if you are in a tree trying to stay out of the floodwaters? Urban search and rescue. I don't know why they call it urban, but anyway, you could just call it search and rescue crews. They were not deployed until Tuesday because Kristi Noem was in, well, I don't know where she was, but what she was doing on Sunday was having her fan base, I guess is what she would call it, trying to choose between 3 pictures of her pretending to, I guess, be like a Native American woman on a horse or a cowgirl on a horse. 3 different pictures of her on horses. Which one should be my portrait in the Capitol for being governor? That's what she was doing on Sunday. Trump was golfing. While in Texas, FEMA was not allowed to do search and rescue. Were there still survivors going on Saturday and Sunday, maybe? It's been agreed pretty much by everybody that not all of the people who died in Texas had to die. Yes, more blood on the hands of Kristi Noem and Donald Trump. And really Elon Musk, he's a big part of breaking up FEMA. So Trump has a round table. For some reason, Dr. Phil is there. Sorry, you're doing a great job. We just have... I haven't worked on his... it sounded a little bit more like Kermit the Frog, didn't it? I don't know. Anyway. And then I said anyway again. God damn it. All right. You know who was not there? Head of FEMA, David Richardson. Nobody knows where he is. He disappeared after Trump made him the, I guess, temporary director of FEMA. Nowhere to be seen. They're trying to say how great a job FEMA was doing down here. And then, but we're going to shut down FEMA. But we really need them here now. So that was a story they were trying to use to distract from the Epstein file story. And people talked about that for a while. Then also ICE. So we're talking about ICE. Joe Rogan, who is no longer the first at the top of the list of podcasts as far as listeners are, because you know who is? Midas Touch Network. They are first in podcasting. Joe Rogan, it has less than half the amount of viewers that Midas Touch had last month. And you know who had almost as many viewers, I believe, was NPR. Some podcast on NPR. I don't have the list in front of me, but Joe Rogan has gone down, down, down in popularity. Well, he is saying, I thought they were just going to deport criminals and gang members and drug lords, but now they're deporting immigrant workers. They go on farms and take workers. But I just saw a photo of a farm, I don't know where it was even, where there's just over plentiful with it looked like maybe tomatoes, I don't know. Way too many because nobody's picking them. And of course the field was empty because workers, even if they're not immigrants, are afraid to show up because ICE will kidnap you, because ICE is basically, the stormtroopers, the Nazi stormtroopers, and they'll throw you into a concentration camp. And speaking of the alligator concentration camp in Florida, it's been revealed that I think there's 700 people. All of a sudden, just last weekend, they threw in, it might be, I can't remember if it's 7,000 or 700 or 7 trillion. Anyway, it's overpacked. Either way, it's way overpacked. People aren't getting showers or baths. They're not getting food. If they do get food that has maggots in it, they're not having proper clothing. There's no air conditioning or anything, and it's sweltering hot. And it sounds like as bad. I mean, they haven't yet built the gas chambers, but otherwise, yeah, it sounds like a concentration camp. That story, I don't know if they want to distract from it or if they want to use it to distract from the Epstein files. You would think that would be the worst story. No, I guess you would think maybe 100 extra people dying that didn't need to die in a flash flood. Maybe that would be the worst story. Man, I don't know. Which would be the worst story? Well, they think the worst story is the Epstein files. Oh, so much to talk about. I don't even know where to go. If you're watching the video, I just have stuff written all over in my notes. It's not even in a line anymore. I just have stuff circled like, oh, you should try and remember to say this, try and remember to say this, try and remember to say this. So kind of out of control, but this week is a lot more fun. Of course, there are horrific, terrifying things happening to Americans because of this regime. But this regime seems to be coming down, and it seems like nobody's telling Trump because he's just repeating things. It is kind of astonishing. Let's take a short break and just continue talking about, the
list of the top 5 things, horrible stories that you would normally want to distract from, but are using the stories to distract from something else on Casey Kasem's Countdown.
All right. You can tell I'm in a much better mood than I have been. I hope you are too. But let's take a short break and come back and get back into it. On a satellite view. If you like the music you hear here, go to toddmikkelson.com and push the music button, and also go to our website, which is satelliteviewpodcast.com, and you can sign up to be on our emailer, and you can also go follow me on Instagram at Todd Mikkelson, also on Blue Sky. What else? Oh, go to YouTube and search for Satellite View Podcast, and you can find our YouTube channel. We put these podcasts up on video in their entirety, usually by Tuesday night, maybe even earlier. So if you'd rather watch me do this, which I don't know that I recommend, I don't know, it's kind of fun. But thank you for listening to the podcast either way. And I kind of didn't need a break. Did you? Yeah, I feel like part of the reason I do the break, I have been asked by people, why do you do a break? And it's only a half an hour long anyway, maybe 40 minutes long. Why do you do a break? Well, it's because you're driving, right? So now you're just arriving at the grocery store, and I'm going on a break, and you're listening to awesome music, and you turn the car off, you go into the store, you come back out, the music's playing, and we start the second half for your drive home from the store, right? That's why I do a break. Didn't really need one this time because we're just got a list of kind of funny shit. Speaking of that, I said funny because I'm looking at my notes and and it stands out because I have all in caps, funny. The funny thing is, it doesn't matter if there even is a client list or not anymore because they're talking. I think I'm going to title this Burning MAGA Hats, because right before I came on, Ben Meiselas was showing a bunch of videos of people making videos of burning and torching and starting their MAGA hats on fire, and then giving the finger to the MAGA hat as it burns. The base is really turning over this Epstein thing. That's why Trump and Pam Bondi and all these people, that's why that is the story they fear the most. They don't care about Americans dying or being kidnapped and terrorized and thrown into concentration camps. They don't care about that. They care about themselves and their power and freedom. Because a lot of them are going to get thrown in prison and get treated better than the people that are being thrown into the alligator concentration camp. So at this point, it doesn't even matter if there's a client list anymore. The MAGAs who think that Bill Clinton is the main guy that they're going to get, maybe, or I don't know, Barack Obama, even though Barack Obama had absolutely, sounds like no ties at all to Epstein. So I don't think they think that Trump is in the files, but they don't care. They were told by Trump that, I mean, they weren't really, because Trump was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to do the Epstein files, because there could be a lot of people, I don't know. But Pam Bondi did. She was asked. She's trying to say, no, I meant all of the files of everything ever that happened in the world. I'm talking about the conspiracy about who killed Jesus Christ. That was on my desk. The conspiracy about, I don't know. All of it was on my desk. That's what I meant. Nope. No. The clip shows the guy from Fox said, so the Epstein client list, are you going to release it? And she said, it is on my desk right now for review, and we're going to release it as quick as we can. I don't know if she said that last part, but she meant it. But it was clearly, the language was the Epstein list. That's how that went. Jamie Raskin has now written a letter to Pam Bondi. Of course, she ignored him. But he's also writing a letter to the Judiciary Committee chairman, Jim Jordan. And he's saying, let's have an investigation on this. Let's subpoena all the people pertinent to this and get to the bottom of it. Let's subpoena Kash Patel. Let's subpoena Dan Bongino. Let's subpoena Pam Bondi. Let's subpoena other people who know about the Epstein stuff. Okay, I'm just going to go roughshod here and interrupt myself because there's so much more to talk about with this Epstein mess that they've created themselves. It's just amazing. Here's something really good that happened. Now, I saw some video of when ICE arrived at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. It was disgusting and incredible. They were on horses. The horses had not goggles, but sort of like the front of a helmet to cover their eyes. The horses had head protective wear and armor. And then the guys had armor and, of course, masks. It looked like medieval times. They should have had the big jousting spears and shields. That's how it looked. Well, LA Mayor Bass went there to confront them live and in person to their faces. And she got all up in their face, got to the head of whoever the coordinator was and said, "Get the fuck out of my town right the fuck now." I'm elaborating. I don't think she said that exactly in that way. But that's, I think, what was in her head. But since she's mayor, she probably cleaned it up a little bit. If you noticed, I used to be real clean on this web. I don't know. I'm getting more pissed, as are you. So anyway, what ended up happening was all the big tough guys turned and ran away. They listened to her. This is what happens when you stand up to the bullies. They go, "Oh," and they walk away. So thank you, Mayor Bass of Los Angeles. By the way, a black woman standing up to all these white supremacist assholes who are being hired. And by the way, now with the big barfable bill, ICE has a bigger budget, more money to spend than the Marine Corps, than the United States Marines, okay? That's what they're doing. They're hiring guys to be bounty hunters. Who knows who these guys are because they wear masks. Are a lot of them like J6 people that got pardoned by Trump? Who knows? Well, yes, another black woman stood up to them and they ran away. So good for that story. Also, Ro Khanna on the House floor is going to ask for a vote. He's going to try and make the speaker. And if the speaker refuses to do this, it's going to be bad. And if the speaker does it, it's going to be bad. So Ro Khanna, a California congressman, is asking for a vote to release the Epstein files on the House floor. Let's see who votes in favor and let's see who votes against it. This is terrifying the White House. Trump is standing up with Pam Bondi in a feud that's going on between Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. So on one side, it's Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. And the other side is Pam Bondi. All of the MAGAs, up and down. I mean, Megan, what's her name from Fox News, who used to be, I don't know, was never a decent person, I would say, but wasn't a MAGA. And Megyn Kelly, even she's saying, you got to fire Pam Bondi. You got to fire her, man, or she's got to resign. Everybody's saying you got to get rid of Pam Bondi, but Trump is saying,
Pam Bondi's doing a great job. Plus, she's super cute, super cute. Like to get a piece of that. You're looking great, Pam. You're looking great. Doing a great job.
And everyone else is saying, we cannot lose Bongino and Kash Patel. I mean, they're idiots too, right? But this is amazing what's happening. Dan Bongino, who was saying, this is hard. I got to go to work every day. Cash is there all day. He's got to stay all day. I got to go to work, and I don't like this job. It's hard, but I'm doing it because I love using part of Donald Trump's anatomy as a popsicle. It tastes so good. And I got to do it. I've got to be alone in an office all day. You don't understand what they're making me do this every day. Big tough guy with big fat arms that he likes to show off on his podcast. One of those guys who always wears T-shirts that are too small for him. He was in the Secret Service. He began in the Secret Service in 1999. This is how he became famous. He was in the Secret Service from 99 to 2011, which means partially, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. And he got famous talking about how mean she was to him. I was in the White House trying to... I'm there, and she would just walk by and she wouldn't even say hi to me. She was so mean. That's how he got famous. Big tough guy with big fat arms and a, shirt that doesn't fit. Complaining. Well, apparently he got in a big yelling match with Pam Bondi last Wednesday. So on Friday, he's like, I'm not even showing up, man. I'm not even doing this. I need a mental day off. I need a mental health. What do the woke people call it? I need that. Okay, screw you, man. I'm not coming in. She's almost as mean as Hillary Clinton was. Oh, that was fun. I've never done that crying routine before. I don't know. What do you think? Was that good? I don't know. So if he goes, which everyone now thinks he's going to quit his job, he's going to resign. What's he going to do? He's going to have a flamethrower on Pam Bondi. And everyone in their right mind knows that Pam Bondi's just doing what Donald Trump wants her to do. Now, is this going to be too much? Is she going to resign? What's going to happen? If Bongino resigns, then Kash Patel, basically, a lot of people say he'll probably go with him. And then there's no leadership at the FBI. It's, Kash Patel is the FBI director, and Dan Bongino is the deputy director of the FBI. Can you believe all this? Oh, my God. And now, just today, people are talking about the author Michael Wolff, who I have read a few of his books because they're just fun to read because they talk about the mess of the White House. For some reason, he's got the trust of the Trump people, and he gets deep in there, and he keeps releasing books that make them look horrible, but they keep letting him back in. Well, Jeffrey Epstein, back in 2014 or something like that, asked, maybe even earlier, asked Michael Wolff if he would write the Jeff Epstein book. Michael Wolff said, I don't know, but he ended up interviewing him for hours, and this ended up happening because Trump became president, and Michael Wolff all of a sudden had an interest to interview Jeffrey Epstein because Epstein knew a lot about Trump because they were best friends. For 15 years, for more than 15 years, they were best friends with each other. So Michael Wolff, he says he has probably like 100 hours or something, maybe even more than that, of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. Now everyone's talking about, hey, Michael Wolff, release it. Also, some group in Iran says they have more than 100 gigabytes of emails from the Trump campaign era. And I guess in the White House, of Susie Wild, his chief of staff, all the way to Roger Stone. And they're saying, if you read these emails, they're pretty bad. Pretty bad. What's going to be revealed in those emails? Or is it going to spill into some of Elon Musk's emails talking about how he has the satellites in a low orbit array over the country? This is something they will not see coming. This is not a piece on the chessboard. Are those emails included? Who did those emails go to? It's not clear who those emails went to, but Elon Musk wrote those emails 2 weeks before the election or so. So what's going to be revealed in those emails? Yeah. Wow. Here's another thing that they tried to do as a distraction. The DOJ is pulling up James Comey and Brennan was the head of the CIA and Comey was the head of the FBI for a short period. Brennan, I think, was the head of the CIA before Trump. Comey was under Trump for a little bit. You know that story. So the CIA director now, his name is Ratcliffe. He ordered some people to do a report on the Durham investigation, which was investigating how the Russia investigation was done. Durham found back then in like 2017, or when did Durham do his thing? 2017 and 18? He totally cleared both Comey and Brennan. Brennan said, I was interviewed by Durham for 8 hours. I showed him everything I had, all of my correspondence, whatever he asked for, he had. And he was cleared. Brennan was cleared. But now Ratcliffe wants a new investigation, a criminal investigation on both Comey and Brennan, even though there's no evidence of any criminality. There was a thorough investigation where Trump made the government spend like almost $8 million to do a months-long investigation that found that the Russia investigation was done right. What's his name? Now I'm forgetting people's names. We all know him. I'm picturing him in. Can you get the picture, like telepathically? Marco Rubio. Jesus, I couldn't remember his name for a sec. Marco Rubio was the chairman of a committee that did an investigation that was part of this whole Durham thing. Marco Rubio, his investigation, very thorough, subpoenaing witnesses, came out with, yes, Russia did try everything they could to get Trump to win and to hurt Hillary Clinton. So we're going back to that. People have, at least for a few days this week, we're talking about that. Does that help Trump? Reviewing the fact that you didn't even win the 2016 election fairly? You couldn't even win the 2016 election. You still lost the popular vote. But somehow you got just the right votes in just the right places to get put in the White House. How did that happen? Let's review that.
At least they're not talking about Epstein.
And then who's talking about Epstein? He puts out a tweet. Trump puts out a tweet, I'm going to call it, whatever it is, on his whatever it is. In all caps.
Stop talking about Epstein!
But dude, by saying that, you're talking about Epstein.
Stop reminding everybody about Epstein.
Okay, I will when you do. Idiot. Oh my God. I haven't even talked about the video that Dan Bongino apparently was the guy who released. And then people went through metadata. And yes, it was. Metadata is something that is kind of undeniable when you study that part of a video. It was cut. They even know it was cut using Final Cut Pro, which is a professional video editing software. And in some of the pictures, you can even see the buttons at the top. That's how bad of a job they did on Dan Bongino trying to edit this. Oh my God. So the video was edited. Everyone found that there was a minute that was left out, and that made everyone look at the video harder and looked in the metadata. Yes, this was edited. This is all BS. Plus, they said it was of Epstein's cell. It wasn't. It was a camera that was around 3 or 4 corners from Epstein's cell. Proves nothing except for that they're hiding something because they wouldn't even let that video be in its entirety. They had to edit a minute out of it. What happened in that minute? Wow. How's the distracting going? Everything they're doing is just making them slip. Every time it's so slippery. Every time they try and climb back up, they slip down further. That's what's happening. Every move they're making is making it worse. That is what has begun this week. It is kind of exciting. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but everybody is turning against Donald Trump. I mean, I didn't mention also, Kerr County could have used the FEMA system that was set up to have every single cell phone in Kerr County go off. Have you ever had an Amber Alert? Your phone just makes the loudest noise. And it's because they send out an Amber Alert the moment a child goes missing. They usually end up getting found right away. And a lot of it is because of this Amber Alert. It pings everybody's cell phone. Your cell phone makes the loudest noise. It's happened a couple times. And Heidi's cell phone is in the other room. Sometimes she doesn't have her cell phone on her. My cell phone goes off and she's like, Jesus Christ, what is that? It's an Amber Alert. They could have done that for the floods. They could have done that, an hour before the floods. They decided not to. Why? The response to this and the potential prevention of deaths for this was bungled at every level. Local, all the way up to federal. And that's one of the stories that they're using so that we don't talk about the Epstein files. That's the current status of the Trump administration. They are in shambles. And it seems like nobody's telling Trump because he's going,
I got the best polls. Everyone loves me right now more than ever.
So he keeps talking about Epstein. He's the one who keeps talking about Epstein. So yes, there are videos. You can find them online. A lot of people with their MAGA hats videoing, starting them on fire and giving them the finger. The actual Trump supporters, this is really, I told you about a list of different things that turn a lot of them against Trump. The Epstein files is like the final sweep up. Every single one of them. I could name Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, all these guys. The Epstein files are turning them against Donald Trump, not just Pam Bondi, turning them against Donald Trump. So I don't know what comes next for the Trump administration. I really don't. But now it's starting to get a little bit more fun to watch. So, all right. We got to laugh at this stuff. Of course, I recognize that there are still people being terrorized by ICE. There are people that are in danger because there will be more storms, more flooding. Well, there already was more flooding since that Texas flood that killed people. There are likely more people going to die and be terrorized because of the neglect and or whatever else the Trump administration is or isn't doing. And that sucks. But everybody is turning against him. And I thought that was going to be kind of impossible. I was like, how are you going to turn these hardcore MAGAs against him? Well, we're seeing it happening this week. So it's making me feel really good. We got to keep it together because the people who are in peril need our help. People are standing up against ICE. Thank you for doing that. People are going to the demonstrations, is what I'm going to call them. Not going to call them even, you call them rallies or demonstrations, not protests even. I mean, we're just going there showing that, hey, man, we're together. We're all together. And we need to make this change. And if we all stay together and all get together, we can make this change. That's what we need to do. So you're making me feel better by giving me a reason to do this show, looking into all this stuff, the news that you may or may not have heard. I don't know what of these things you did or did not hear about because still the corporate-owned media is not reporting on a lot of this stuff. But these are the things that are happening. It's looking like the Trump administration, is going to have nowhere to go. I mean, I really don't know what could happen because the vast majority of Americans are really against this and they're really being vocal right now. It's kind of amazing. So let's see what happens with the demonstrations and rallies as people get together by the millions is what has been happening. Let's keep it going. Let's keep ourselves together, take care of ourselves, and be there for the people who need us to end this regime so that they're no longer terrorized and killed. Stay woke. Don't be asleep. That's when they can take advantage of us. That's why they hate that we're woke. Because when we're awake, they die. They go away. Because we have the power to make them go away. And that's what we're working on. I've gone way over time. Thank you for sticking with me this long. You probably, now you got home from the grocery store and are sitting in your driveway, right? Because this is so riveting, you can't even go in the house. You're starving. And now you're pissed at me because you haven't started making your food. I apologize for that. But thank you so much for sticking with me here on the Satellite View. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.